This has to be the scariest Mamelodi Sundowns performance I've seen this season. I know they've got the 4-0 wins and they've scored so many goals and the box entries and they currently have the most goals in the league, so they're very dangerous. But this was the scariest game by Sundowns. And I'll tell you why. It was scary because, for all intents and purposes, Sundowns should not have won this game. Ribeiro was off form. He wasn't himself. He wasn't connecting play the way that he normally connects play. Reyners was not playing anywhere near his best. He was lost most of that game running into midfield, where he kind of loses that pace element of his game. Usales, at some point he was all the way back to collect balls and doing all of that stuff. Allende were quiet. Mkhulisi and Allende don't seem to have a good link up. We watched the game and we were speaking about the energy of the game, how it doesn't seem like the players understand what they're meant to be doing. It doesn't seem like they want to play for a coach. We had questions about, going back down spiraling, rulani and all of those things. But at 90 minutes, you look up and they've won 3-0. At 90 minutes, this Sundowns team that we were criticizing all match long won by 3-0. Now, there's a lot of people who are going to speak about the ref and this and that and that and the other and the penalty. True. Was it an on goal? True. But the most important thing is that you're getting the win. Now, have you lost in the cup games? Sure. But in the league, currently, they've only lost one game and they've got no draws. They've scored the most, conceded the least, if I'm not mistaken, if not second least. And I started thinking to myself, am I falling under the same trick from last season? Of course, Rulani last season, when the comedian was starting out and it was a little bit rough, we all were saying that this Sundowns is beatable, this Sundowns is this Sundowns is that. And we woke up and these guys had won so many games in a row. By the time the league realized what was going on, it was gone. Sorry to interrupt the video that I'm sure you're enjoying, but I just wanted to say thank you for all of the support that you guys have shown me and my Overthinking Football platform. I'm a one-man band that's doing all of this, and I really do enjoy the comments about how, Supersport needs to come fetch me and SABC and all of that stuff. And I think it speaks to the quality of the content, but also the amount of effort that I put in. So I just wanted to say thank you. But the truth is that Abu Supersport and all of those guys, yes, we're competing with them, but it's a completely different place. The sponsors are looking for former players, and to be honest with you, running some of these things is getting so difficult and things have changed at home. So financially, it's a whole different world. So I wanted to try something new and come to the overthinkers, the people who watch the content, and say it would be incredible if you guys could contribute monthly towards the platform, towards keeping my lights on, but also making sure that all of the crazy things that I want to do, that I want to take Supersport on with, I can actually do. And just for 20 Rand every month, I think that would be an incredible contribution if you can make it. It may sound like a little, but if we can get a lot of people behind it, then we'll be able to carry on doing what I do. I'll be able to carry on giving you the content and also expanding it, because we don't have shows like this, and us content creators need help from our audiences. So I just came here to ask you if you can. Here is the account number that you guys can use in order to contribute. And I think, I'd be very grateful if you would. But anyway, let's get back to the video. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. But the other interesting thing that we forget about last season is that Sundowns had plenty of games where it was 1-0, ugly games, where it was a defender slipping and scoring an on goal, where it was the pressure from Sundowns doing something to the other team, where a mistake is made similar to the first goal from today. But the most important thing was that they were winning over and over and over and over and over again. And this is where this Mamelodi Sundowns is going. Now, I don't know if they're going to win the Champions League and win the Nedbank Cup and win the league and do all of those things. I don't know. But up to this point, I think it's kind of scary, because other than this, their record looks the same. Sundowns didn't have an MTN 8 last season. They got knocked out of the Carling Cup by TS Galaxy very early. Now, you could argue about the embarrassment of Magesi, but they lost 2 finals last year. Domestic local finals last year. So, is it really that bad? Now, to get onto the game, I think Sekhukhune did a very good job in the first half of keeping Sundowns quiet. They kept their structure very well. They weren't jumping out at Sundowns, and maybe if it wasn't for that on goal, the game would be a little bit different in terms of how it turned out. But I think Sekhukhune did well to hold their structure. And unfortunately for them, because they went down by that goal, they needed to come out in the second half and actually start playing to maybe try salvage a point or something like that. And when they started playing, that's when Sundowns came alive. Because this Sundowns team, Coach Manqoba, strives on space. So even if you look at the penalty that was given for Reinas, that was a ball that was played up the center, something they hadn't been doing all game long. Up the center, on a counter-attack, then they played through, boom, goal. Sekhukhune was a bit naive in leaving 2 defenders back and not necessarily having a midfield player to guard that space. So Sundowns looked pretty dangerous coming up, going up against Sekhukhune in that fashion. Now, the only criticism really that I have of Mamelodi Sundowns is we're seeing another game where what was advertised as the game that Sundowns would be playing was not what we saw in the game. So, for example, we were told that we're going to see box entries, possession is not going to matter, we're going to push. And I'm going to give Sekhukhune their credit, obviously, for structure, but I'm going to look at Sundowns and say, now we're looking at a couple of games in a row where you guys started doing different things to what had been successful. So that whole thing I tell you about Ribeiro playing the 10, and in the 10 sort of dictating to the 2 players that are in front of him, playing those balls in so that Reinas can use his pace, so that Sales, I guess, can use his link-up play to a degree. We don't see that. They sort of go wide and they try to get balls in, which is something that Coach Rulani, when the chameleons started not chameleoning and people started figuring them out and going into low blocks, it was something that Sundowns started doing under him as well late into the season, where they would just play crosses. The only difference is that Coach Rulani's team was intentional in that they wanted to flood as many balls into the box and hope that something happens. Some of the mistakes that we've seen in some of these games, in this game as well, right? So I guess that's the only criticism I have, that whatever Sundowns is doing right now is not what Coach Manqoba had been speaking about. And maybe something they need to look out for is some games you won't get the on goal. So that'll mean that you won't be able to switch on. Not having a shot on target or a shot at goal, I believe, up to the second half is not something you need to do, because you could have a Polokwane game. You know, you could have a game where you're switching off and you're not getting the chances and you're not doing all the stuff, and the other team could score and win. But other than that, professional performance by Mamelodi Sundowns. Whatever you say, everything I've said here where I've criticized Mamelodi Sundowns doesn't matter, because the 3 points is clocked. There's a team that played at 5:45 that had all of the excitement, all of the play, all of the chances, and could only leave with 1 point. So, again, do we criticize how the game looks and how the game feels, and maybe it doesn't feel as exciting, or it's not Shushan and Piano, and it's not all of these things? The top 2 teams in the league right now are not playing the best football week in, week out, but they're winning, and that's what makes them the best teams. Best football doesn't mean you're going to win. And I think Sundowns is showing us this. And maybe my mind is slowly changing on Manqoba, in that I'm starting to view it outside of the storylines. Coach Rulani had a similar start to the season. Coach Rulani had plenty of games that were very ugly 1-0 wins where it wasn't chameleoning and it wasn't tiki-taka, and when they played the Shushan and Piano wasn't working and they needed to then go direct and start crossing. So if we look at it from that point, is Coach Manqoba that bad, or is it that he's got the baggage from everything that has happened in his Sundowns career, the demotions, the fights, the Rulani situation, all of that, those things, and all those things coloring how we view them? Again, this is not me endorsing him and saying that he's going to do well for the rest of the season. I'm just saying that up to this point, I don't think he's done badly. Pirates has a freak season that they're having. Coach Rulani had the freakiest of seasons last year, almost invincible. Last time, Sundowns, funny enough, did something similar. It was in 2020 where they lost one game. So, yeah. But other than that, unfortunate for Sekhukhune. I wish they could have done a little bit more in this game. I wish they could have given a little bit more. And it goes back to that small team thing where, smaller team thing where they come in, they want to defend. By the time you want to play, it's too late. You're chasing. And when you start chasing, you open up and 3-0 is the scoreline. You go home with a -3 on your goal difference. But what can we say? Great win by Sundowns. I'll see you guys on the next one.